Dear soul, if you are watching this right now, hear me clearly. It is not by accident. Nothing in heaven is accidental, and nothing in your journey is without meaning. The very fact that your eyes have landed on these words is a divine appointment. There is a reason you are here in this moment. Heaven has brought you into alignment because your spirit is ready to hear something your heart has been waiting for. Your guardian angels have a message that burns with urgency. And this message is not just another word to pass you by. It carries life. It carries truth. It carries the fragrance of heaven itself. So listen closely. Do not let these words wash over you like the wind passes through the trees. Let them take root inside of you. For tonight is not ordinary. There are moments in life when heaven draws so close that you can almost feel the brush of angel wings against your shoulders. When the veil between eternity and time thins until you sense heaven breathing over your very skin. This moment, right now, is one of those sacred spaces. Your spirit already knows it. That is why you feel that ache in your chest, that stirring in the pit of your stomach, that strange heaviness in the atmosphere around you. You can sense it, like the world itself is holding its breath, waiting for something about to unfold. And here is why. The person God has tied to your destiny, the one your heart has never stopped beating for, stood on the edge of surrender. Last night, in the stillness of their room, the battle for their soul reached its fiercest moment. With only the dim light of a lamp flickering against the shadows, they sat in silence, feeling the loud echo of their own heartbeat in their ears. Their chest rose and fell with the weight of despair, and with trembling fingers, they pressed record on their phone. For the first time, they let their soul bleed out through their voice. They confessed what they have been too afraid to admit. Their voice cracked under the weight of it. Tears blurred their vision. Their chest heaved as they whispered, "I am afraid. I am lost. I almost said my final goodbye." Almost. That single word carries eternity in its sound. Almost means the story could have ended, but heaven intervened. Almost means the forces of despair almost triumphed, but the prayers of the faithful rose like fire to the throne of God. Almost means the voice of angels thundered louder than the whispers of lies. Almost means your love, your intercession, your silent tears that soaked your pillow. Those very prayers reached into the midnight of their soul and pulled them back from the cliff's edge. Your person did not fall because heaven did not let go. And whether you knew it or not, you were part of the rescue. For you have carried them in your heart all this time. You have cried out when no one else saw, and heaven heard. But here is the hidden truth. Your person is not just weighed down by sorrow. They are suffocated by guilt. The guilt of turning away, when their soul screamed to stay. The guilt of not choosing you when the hand of God had placed you before them. The guilt of leaving the only one who ever truly saw through their defenses, who loved them beyond the scars and beyond the masks. They have carried this secret shame silently, believing that they did not deserve your love. And in their darkest hour, that thought almost destroyed them. But beloved soul, you must know this now. You are chosen. You are not forgotten. You are not cast aside. You are not unloved. Heaven marked you before time began, and nothing, not rejection, not silence, not separation, can erase the seal God placed on your destiny. You were always chosen to be more than someone's fleeting memory. You were called to be the anchor in another storm. While your person almost drowned beneath the waves of despair, angels were already surrounding them, holding their head above water. The prayers of heaven, the mercy of God, and your whispered cries in the midnight hour intertwined into a cord that could not be broken. And that cord pulled them back from the edge. Do you understand the power in this moment? You are part of a miracle. Within the next 3 days, heaven will send you a sign. Watch carefully, for it will not come in the way you expect. It may be a song playing from a car as you pass by, a lyric echoing in the air, or even a phrase spoken so suddenly that it halts you in your tracks. And when you hear it, you will feel the piercing truth of it, as if it was written only for you. That will not be coincidence. That will be heaven's echo, your person's silent cry reaching for you across the unseen, testifying that your souls are still bound by divine design. That sign is heaven's whisper. This story is not finished. So now, pause with me. Take a breath. Place your hand upon your heart. Feel that steady rhythm beneath your palm. That is the song of life, the evidence that you are here, because your purpose is not yet complete. Speak this truth over yourself until it saturates your spirit. I am chosen. I am loved. I am not forgotten. My story is not over. Again, let those words flow through you like fire. I am chosen. I am loved. I am not forgotten. My story is not over. When your person pressed record on that trembling night, they thought no one would ever see, no one would ever hear. But heaven saw, heaven heard, and heaven rewrote their ending. You were never called to carry grief alone. You were called to witness resurrection. This connection, heavy though it feels, is not a punishment. It is not meant to break you. It is the evidence of your calling. You were entrusted to carry light in places where others would only carry shadows. And though that burden sometimes feels like fire in your chest, know this: it is because your soul was designed with a strength not of this world. Your person is awakening to that truth now. Picture them again in that room, tears carving paths down their cheeks, their phone slipping in their trembling hand, the darkness pressing in like a heavy shroud. And then, suddenly, the stillness breaks. A breeze stirs the air. Something unseen touches their spirit. Their heart jolts as if a hand reached into their chest and pulled them back to life. They almost said goodbye, but instead, heaven anchored them. And now, you are hearing this. This is not chance. This is divine timing. This is alignment written before the foundation of the earth. Can you imagine their side of the story? Sitting alone at a table, staring at the chair you once filled. Every object around them is a reminder. The memory of your laughter softening the air. The memory of your gaze that pierced deeper than any defense. The memory of your presence that made them believe in something greater than themselves. They replay it all in silence, and under the weight of regret, they almost break again. But then, like a light breaking through a storm cloud, they remember. They remember your prayers. They remember your voice speaking life when they only carried death. They remember the way your love carried the fragrance of heaven. And that memory, that sacred echo, becomes their lifeline. And you, beloved, you have carried your own questions. Why me? Why this connection? Why can I still feel their soul when they are so far? Your heart has been heavy with wondering why the bond between you refuses to die. The answer is both simple and profound. You are chosen. You are the one heaven marked for such a connection. You were not assigned merely to love, but to heal, not just to feel, but to carry a heart capable of touching eternity. This sensitivity of yours, this ache you feel, is not weakness. It is your divine assignment. The story is still being written, and you are standing in the middle of it now, witnessing what few souls are trusted to witness: the hand of God weaving redemption out of despair, resurrection out of endings, and divine love out of ashes. Now hear me, beloved soul. This story, your story, is not ending in silence, though it came close. It trembled on the edge of finality, standing at the cliff of despair. But heaven reached down and caught it. What was about to shatter into 1,000 irretrievable pieces will not end in ruin. Instead, it is being rewoven, strand by strand, into something more radiant than before by hands greater, wiser, and more merciful than ours. You must anchor this truth deep in the marrow of your spirit. Almost does not mean the end. The world teaches us that almost is a failure, a sign of weakness, a mark of defeat. Almost married, almost healed, almost restored, almost forgiven, almost made it through. But heaven whispers a different testimony. Heaven declares that almost is not a collapse. It is an interception. Almost is not a failure. It is the moment God steps in with divine timing. Almost is not abandonment. It is intervention. Say it with me now, so that your soul can memorize its rhythm. Almost does not mean the end. Almost means God intervened. Let those words echo inside you. Let them take root. Whisper them again in the quiet of your heart. Almost does not mean the end. Almost means God intervened. This is more than a phrase. It is a weapon, a shield, a lifeline. When doubt comes, when shadows creep into your mind, when the voice of fear tries to remind you of how close you came to losing everything, this truth will rise up like a lion. It will carry you. It will silence the accuser. Your life was never meant to be defined by what almost broke you. Your destiny is not a story of loss, but of resurrection. Think of Joseph, betrayed by his brothers and thrown into a pit. He almost died there. He almost lived forgotten in prison, swallowed by injustice. But God intervened. Think of Esther, who almost stayed silent, almost missed her moment. But God intervened, and a nation was saved. Think of the widow at Zarephath, preparing her last meal for herself and her son, believing she was at the very end. But God sent his prophet, and the jar never ran empty. Almost was not the end. Almost was the very place of divine reversal. So it is with you. Perhaps last night you felt it, the weight pressing down, the thought that it was over, that hope had finally slipped too far from your grasp. Perhaps you have been carrying the story of almost loved, almost seen, almost restored, almost chosen. And yet, here you are, still breathing, still standing, still listening, still drawn by a force greater than despair. That is not coincidence. That is not chance. That is God's intervention. Beloved, heaven would not let your story end in silence. There are moments when angels move quietly in the background of your life, fighting wars you cannot see, redirecting arrows meant to pierce you, extinguishing fires meant to consume you. In the midnight hour, when you felt forgotten, heaven was writing another chapter. When you thought you were abandoned, the author of your story dipped his pen again in mercy and refused to close the book. Hear this. You are not here by accident. You are not listening to these words by mistake. You are standing in the exact moment heaven appointed for you to be reminded that your life is not random, your steps are not wasted, and your breath is not in vain. What the enemy tried to label as the end, heaven has renamed a turning. You may have thought you were forgotten in the shadows, but the truth is you have been marked all along. Marked with destiny, marked with purpose, marked with divine favor that cannot be erased. And though rejection may have tried to write your story, it does not hold the ink. Though heartbreak may have tried to narrate your ending, it does not own the script. Though despair may have tried to silence your song, it cannot erase the melody heaven placed in you before time began. Your life is not ending in almost. Your story is unfolding in redemption. Beloved, a sign will come, not because you are desperate for proof, but because God is faithful. In the coming days, expect it. A word, a lyric, a phrase that feels like it was carved just for you. A whisper in the quiet that will ring louder than doubt. Heaven will confirm what your spirit already knows. This story is not ending. This connection is not over. This purpose is not wasted. Your home is being blessed with peace. Your nights will be marked with rest. Your future will open with clarity. Your heart will be filled again with courage. What was almost lost will not only be restored, it will return brighter, stronger, deeper than before. Do not despise the almost. Almost means you were preserved. Almost means you were hidden for greater glory. Almost means you were rescued before destruction could claim you. Remember Lazarus. The mourners said it was too late, that death had won. But Jesus declared, "This sickness is not unto death, but for the glory of God." Almost buried, but not abandoned. Almost silenced, but not finished. And when the stone was rolled away, what seemed like the end became the most radiant testimony of resurrection power. So it is with your life. You are not forgotten. You are not forsaken. You are not unloved. Heaven calls you chosen. Heaven calls you beloved. Heaven calls you redeemed. Take a deep breath. Let peace flow through your chest. Let your spirit unclench. Rest in the truth that the author of your story has not finished writing. The pages ahead are not blank with despair. They are filled with redemption, with love, with restoration beyond what your eyes can yet see. This is your reminder. Almost does not mean the end. Almost means God intervened. If these words resonated within you, if you felt heaven speaking through them into the very marrow of your being, let your heart respond in faith. Declare it aloud, even if your voice shakes. I am chosen. My story is not over. And if you feel led to sow into this work, know that your seed is not just support. It is a declaration. It is faith in action. Whether it is small or great, heaven sees it. Heaven honors it. And heaven returns it multiplied, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. Together, we are not just listening to words. We are building a community anchored in faith, rooted in love, and aligned with eternal purpose. Beloved, this story is not ending in silence. It is unfolding in redemption. Almost has never been your ending. Almost has always been God's intervention.